Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. It's 6:01, and I know folks will continue to filter into the room as we get started. So we'll have a little bit of a slow start, so we won't be missing anything. So we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, I'm Gina Hamilton. I'm Senior Planner with El Dorado County Planning Department, and we're here to hold the county's CEQA scoping meeting for the EDH52 Commercial Center. To clarify what that means, a scoping meeting, it means that the main purpose of tonight's meeting is to receive your input, get your comments on what you would like to see addressed in the environmental impact report that's being prepared for the project. And we'll talk a little bit more about the EIR later in the presentation. Next slide. So the proposed project includes, oh, a little too fast for me. Includes a plan development permit, a rezone, conditional use permit, tentative parcel map, and a lot line adjustment. Next slide. And so before we dive into a little bit about the project description, here's the agenda for this evening. So again, I'm Gina Hamilton, Senior Planner with the Planning Department, El Dorado County, and you'll be hearing from me and from Corey Risha, who is with Ascent Environmental. Ascent is contracting directly with the county to prepare the EIR for the proposed project. Meeting logistics. We'll go through some meeting logistics, the project description. I'll hand off to Corey, and Corey will talk to you about the EIR and the environmental review process, talk to you a little bit about what will be in the EIR, what's typically in an EIR, identifying the issues to be evaluated in the EIR. And then we're going to move to, like I said, what the purpose of the meeting is. It's actually to get your input, what you'd like to see addressed. And then we'll get to the public comment part. We'll also talk about other ways for you to submit comments after this evening. So great, next slide. So a little bit about the meeting logistics is, so the presentation is being recorded. Will be available afterwards. It'll take us a little time to get it together and put it up on the website, but it will be available on the county's website. As a participant, your audio and video are automatically turned off, so you don't have to worry about that. Sorry, my notes are out of order, my fault. You control the layout of the slides and the panelist video on your screen. Got it, sorry, I misunderstood my own notes there. We recommend it in side-by-side mode. So right at the very top, I think there's a little bit about changing your layout. And there will be opportunity for verbal public comments at the end of the presentation. To let everyone know, everyone will have 3 minutes to speak. We'll go over that a little bit more in detail. If the meeting continues past 8 o'clock, we will extend the meeting, but we'll take a 10-minute break at 8 o'clock so that everybody can take a rest, and then we'll come on back. And next slide. Great, so project description. So the project site is located in the unincorporated area of El Dorado County. It is located in the El Dorado Hills Community Region, located north of Highway 50. It's about 43.26 acres bisected northeast, southwest of Silva Valley Parkway, and it's composed of 5 parcels. Next slide. So as I said, the project is broken up into 2 pieces. You have the north site, which is, like I said, northeast of Silva Valley Parkway, the south site, which is bisected a little bit to the west by Clarksville Crossing. And there's the list of permits, again, that goes with the applications. So next slide. So we'll go into more detail, but as you can see on the north site, EDH52 North will be a retail commercial office center along with self-storage and RV storage. And you'll see along the north site here, there's a Country Club Drive extension that will be built to provide access to that north site. And then new signalized intersections at Country Club Drive and about the middle of the project site, so it allows access to both the north and the south site. And on the south site would be the Costco warehouse. Why don't we go ahead to the next slide and I'll get into some more details about that. Great. So a little bit about the rezone. The project involves a rezone. As you can see on the left, that's the existing zoning. It's CR-PD, so it's commercial regional. The application includes rezoning the north site, so it's community commercial, and then a little portion of the southern part of the south site would be rezoned to bring it into compliance with the CRPD. So what this means generally is the south site is intended for commercial regional, so larger stores like a Costco or a large regional draw store. And then the north side would be more retail and local serving uses, including the gas station. And next slide. Great. And so on the north side, it's expected to include a drive-through gas station with a car wash, food service, outdoor patio, like I said, local serving retail, and some office uses. The self-storage site, that would require a conditional use permit, as that is currently required under the zoning ordinance for community commercial. Total building area, max building area, about 162,000 square feet. And again, the rezone, and that site would include a tentative parcel map, and it would be parsed out into 8 different parcels. And as I mentioned, the Country Club Drive extension, which is ultimately part of a planned for capital improvement project through the county. And next slide. So there's a lot of good detail on this slide. The Costco warehouse, about 156,000 square feet. Typical Costco services like the tire center, optical exams, the photo center, food service, prep and sales, bakery, alcohol sales, meat prep and sales, and parking. So the parking would be 2 at-grade lots, 1 subterranean lot. And again, the rezone to extend the CRPD across the entire site. Great, we'll go next slide. Oh, I'm gonna hand it off to Corey Risha with Ascent for a minute.
Good evening, my name is Corey Risha and I am with Ascent Environmental. And I'm going to talk a little bit about CEQA tonight. CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act, and it is essentially a public disclosure act that public participation is essential to this act. And it applies to any discretionary action made by a public agency, such as El Dorado County. Now, CEQA requires consideration of physical environmental effects of projects and requires measures to avoid or mitigate environmental impacts. And something that's important to remember is that certification of an EIR does not indicate project approval. Certification of an EIR comes prior to full consideration of the project and does not indicate project approval. Next slide, please. A couple of things about what an EIR does and does not do. Now, an EIR is an environmental impact report, and that discloses the environmental effects of all physical environmental effects of a project. So it does disclose potential effects. It does identify mitigation measures, and it will also describe feasible alternatives to a proposed project. And those feasible alternatives are based on reducing environmental impacts. A few things that an EIR does not do. It does not require mitigation for existing environmental conditions. There's a thing in CEQA called baseline, and it's something that we discuss in our EIR and use that as the basis for the existing conditions at the time of the project. An EIR also does not advocate for the project under evaluation. The EIR is not going to say this project should be approved or should not be approved. This is simply an objective evaluation of the environmental impacts. Also, an EIR does not require project denial if there are significant environmental impacts. And an EIR also does not address economic or social issues such as property values. Next slide, please. So now the CEQA process that we're in. First, we started with the notice of preparation. The comment period began on August 23rd and goes through September 21st. Many of you probably received the NOP or have otherwise seen it on the county's website or in some other forum. So as part of that notice of preparation, the scoping period, as we call it, we have a scoping meeting, which we're doing today. And this is the time when we are here to take comments from the public and agencies and any interested parties on what the scope of our environmental analysis should be. So that's what we're doing tonight, is for you to submit comments tonight, and also you can submit them via email and mail. We've got those that information on other slides for you. And it's also in the NOP. So taking the scoping comments that we receive, we will be working on the draft EIR. And once that is done and ready to release, it'll be open for a 60-day public review period in which anyone can submit comments on that draft EIR. Now, once that public review period is closed, we will then begin addressing those comments in what is called a final EIR. And the final EIR is required to respond to all comments received regarding environmental impacts during the draft EIR review period. And that final EIR will also include any changes to the draft EIR that may be made in response to some of those comments. So after the final EIR is completed, all of those documents will be provided to the decision makers. They will have all of the scoping comments, the draft EIR, the EIR comments, and the final EIR with the responses to comments. All of that will be presented to the decision makers, who can then make a project decision. So that's, in a nutshell, the CEQA process. Next slide, please. So here on the screen, we've got a list of issues to be evaluated in the EIR. This is the same as what appeared in the NOP, and it covers a bunch of issues from aesthetics and air quality all the way down to tribal cultural resources and utilities. And these are all based on the Appendix G checklist of the CEQA guidelines. Next slide, please. As noted in the NOP, there are 3 issues that we evaluated and determined that do not need further evaluation in the EIR. Those are agricultural and forestry resources, mineral resources, and population and housing. We've got that information there. It's also in the NOP, and also in the draft EIR. We will reiterate again why we aren't discussing these issues in further detail in the document. Next slide, please. So before I hand it back over to Gina, here's how you can submit comments. And just a reminder, all comments must be received by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, September 21st. First of all, you can submit comments via email to the email address on your screen. It's also listed in the NOP. You can also mail a hard copy letter to Gina Hamilton at the address listed here. Also, tonight we're taking verbal comments. Whether you're calling in by phone or you're joining us via Zoom, you can still participate, and we've got some directions for how to raise your hand to speak. And one more thing, all the project materials can be accessed on the El Dorado County, the Track It website, and there's a link here, and that link is also in the NOP. So back to you, Gina.
Good, thanks, Corey. Let's stay on that slide for just a second. I just want to let folks know that that email address actually sends comments directly to me. There's not a separate inbox sitting somewhere waiting to be monitored. It comes directly to my inbox. So that is the best way, though, to submit your written comments. But again, you can provide them by US mail or FedEx or however you like as well. But just, that comes right to me. And then I know there are a lot of folks that are comfortable with Track It. So just to let you know that you now need to actually create an account to access documents in Track It. So, if you have any questions about that, you can call our main planning department line. Our admin staff is fantastic, and they can walk you through how to do that. But it's pretty self-explanatory. But in the past, you did not have to create an account, and that's changed a little bit. So let us know if you need any help with that. Next slide. Great. So let's see. So if you're using Zoom on your computer, mobile, or other smart device, you can look for the raise your hand at the bottom of the screen to let us know you would like to speak. When it's your turn, you'll receive a notification. So you can select unmute yourself. I think we're giving a verbal cue as well, correct? Is that correct, Corey?
Yes.
Did we decide? Thanks, Tracy.
Yes, I will call on people's by name and let them know that they can begin.
Thank you. And at that point, you can go ahead and begin speaking. The host will mute your microphone when you're done. And next slide. Great. So providing comments, if you're by phone, press *9, and that will indicate to us that you would like to speak. And again, we'll let you know when we're ready to have you provide comment. There will be a message, and you can press *6 to unmute. And when you're done, so I'm covering up part of my own slides. When you're done, press *6 to remute. Next slide. So just a few rules so everybody knows how the public comment is going tonight. There is a limit of 3 minutes on verbal comments. There's obviously a countdown timer in the middle of the screen, and you'll hear a beep or a chime when you're 15 seconds out. So that's a good time to consider making your last points and wrapping up your comments. When your 3 minutes is up, you will automatically be muted. And we ask that each attendee only speak once. If you still have additional thoughts when you're at your 3 minutes, please, again, we encourage you to submit comments in writing. Send them to me at that email address. Again, that Track It link and the email address are in the NOP as well. So I think that's it for that. So next slide. Oh, we're ready to go, right?
Yes, so
Good,
if
good.
you would like to get into the queue to provide public comment, you need to use the raise hand feature in Zoom. It's the little icon with the hand. And if you are on the phone, you press *9 is how you will raise your hand. So we do have a couple of folks with their hands raised. So first in line, it is Amy Firth. I'm going to unmute you, and the timer will start when you start speaking. So Amy Firth, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Amy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm calling to represent a letter that was sent with over 300 signatures from parents and family members of children that attend Oak Meadow Elementary School, and many that are Serrano residents. This letter was formally submitted in response to the scoping project. We have many concerns with the existing traffic situation at Oak Meadow. The 25-mile-per-hour school zone is most often ignored. Drivers speed through at 45 miles per hour or more. The school existing traffic does not have enough parking to accommodate the parents, so cars have to wait in a very long line to turn into the school, or they park along Silva Valley Parkway and walk their children in. There's no stoplight or stop sign at the school entrance requiring parents to yield to oncoming traffic. There's no left turn out of the school, so when we're exiting the school campus, we have to drive to Serrano Parkway and make a U-turn, often waiting 2 to 3 traffic light cycles to get through. The current EDH POSCO proposal mitigation tactics to issues will cause traffic.
Okay, it does look like Amy, we've lost Amy.
I'll just, this is Gina Hamilton. Amy, the sound kept kind of going in and out on your call. I have received information from Amy, though, her letter with the signatures, and I can always follow up with her about that, but we have received her comments in writing, so I'll follow up with her again. So let's go ahead and move along.
Great.
Sorry,
So
Amy.
the next person in line is John Rasslier. John, you should be able to unmute yourself and
You just took away some of my time while you were talking to me. Thank you. John Rasslier, I am the vice chair of the El Dorado Hills Area Planning Advisory Committee. And I would like to say at the very beginning that APAC has felt that this type of a virtual meeting is inappropriate for this important, very, very important change in our community. That's number one. I would also like to point out that I would like to stress the environmental safety of the children in Oak Meadow School. You know, I'm a grandparent. I have 6 grandchildren. I've been to Oak Meadow, and I've been appalled by the traffic conditions there. That's number one. And I'm also an educator from the city of New York for over 30 years. And when I look at the open campus of this school and realize that you are going to build a store that's going to bring thousands of people adjacent to this school, and anyone can get into this school and possibly harm one of these beautiful children. So I think this particular location for a Costco is wrong. Okay, as I'm saying this as a grandparent, I'm saying this also as a person who's had over 30-something years experience working with children of all ages. And I also think that this type of a scoping meeting, as we said in our APAC letter, it does a disservice to this community. I'm going to stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
thank you. Next in line, we have the caller on the phone who ends in 0765. Please unmute yourself. If you press, go ahead.
I believe you press *6 to unmute yourself on the phone, I believe.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. My name is Marty Abel. I'm a resident of Village Green Drive. We're recently retired, and our home is adjacent to the north site. Just as a little background, something like John, I have some experience in these areas. I was an environmental consultant for 35 years and worked for a respected and successful and well-known environmental consulting firm that wrote EIRs. And I, in fact, when I retired, was awarded the California Association of Environmental Professionals Lifetime Achievement Award for my work on EIRs. So I know a lot about EIRs. Corey, I would like to follow up on a few things you said. You're correct, of course, that a finding in the final EIR of significant and unavoidable impact does not require denial of the project, but it does require a statement of overriding considerations by the lead agency, El Dorado County. And the only way the lead agency can make such a statement is if they do it on the basis of economic or social considerations, which aren't required to be included in the EIR. So I would strongly suggest that the EIR include, by the way, CEQA doesn't prohibit inclusion of those discussions of economic and social impacts. So I would strongly encourage that the EIR include them. And if it doesn't, that at least the county separately require a cost revenue analysis of these projects that clearly identify the social, well, not the social, that's the cost revenue analysis, of course, but the fiscal, the economic, and other relative impacts that can be, and that fiscal impact, that cost revenue analysis should be publicly available, should be open to public comment. It should be published before the EIR or in contemporaneously with it, and that those considerations also be part of this whole process, because it'll be necessary if you ever override the findings of significant effect, which will inevitably come out of this EIR. Second, in those 35 years of doing EIRs, one of the biggest and most painful lessons I learned is that to combine two projects of the scope into one EIR causes.
Thank you. Your 3 minutes is up. Next, we have Heather Siefkes. Heather, please unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm running away from my 2-year-old that's wanting popcorn for dinner. Hi, I'm Heather Siefkes, that's Siefkes. I am a resident of Serrano. In fact, my house, I can directly see the EDH52 sites directly from my back windows. I also am a mom of 2 young children. My oldest daughter started kindergarten at Oak Meadow this year. And I'm one of the parents that signed the letter that Amy Frith was referring to. I also want to say I'm a pediatric critical care physician. So from that, I know that the leading cause of death for children is accidental death, of which motor vehicle accidents and auto versus pedestrian accidents makes up a significant portion. So many of the things that Amy was referring to in regards to insufficient parking at Oak Meadow, as well as unprotected left turns, traffic, speed, all those things are very concerning to me, and it's surprising to me actually, just after experiencing drop off for my kindergartner this last few weeks. It's surprising to me that a significant accident resulting in a poor outcome of a child has not happened in this area of recently, as that the current status is unsafe and does not allow for safe access to and from the school. And these are things that I think need addressed, as bringing in a commercial development directly next to the school is only going to make the current situation worse. From a more personal note, because my home is so close to these sites, it's also concerning to me regarding the noise and light impact from an environmental perspective. Being a homeowner my children's bedrooms, as well as my own bedroom window, looks directly at these sites. And a car speeding down at middle of the night down Silva Valley Parkway already has the potential to wake us at night. So big rig trucks doing mini deliveries throughout the night, I think, is only going to be more disruptive and have an environmental impact from that perspective. Those are my comments. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone who has not commented yet who wanted to comment? Please raise your hand. All right. Looks like we have Amanda Hansen.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I really want to second the previous speaker's comments. I won't repeat them, but I hope that you add a second voice to back them up from me. I'd like to also just flag that in the Appendix G checklist of the CEQA guidelines, the transportation bullet is actually listed as transportation and traffic. And so I just want to confirm that that is going to be what you all are looking at, and that that's not an intentional deletion given the interest in that particular issue. I'd also like to understand what, how you all sort of measure the greenhouse gas emissions, largely because, I think in some cases you're looking at people choosing not to allow their children to walk or to bike to school, just given the level of traffic on the streets, which means that they will likely also be driving their children to school. So just want to know if that's, potentially part of your evaluation. And I think my final point is just to say that, I really am, I'm appalled that the idea of a Costco in this location is being explored seriously. I think there's a lot of other places within this county that the Costco could be cited, and I'm really disappointed that this is happening at a location so close to so many schools. And I'll just wrap it there. Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, next we have caller, the last four is 5648. 5648, you press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Amy Frisk calling back in. I just wanted to get my verbal comments on the record. Some of the other individuals who have said many of the points that I also wanted to make. I just wanted to also note that Oak Meadow School gets out at 1:10, which is prime shopping time for Costco, frequenters that like to go on their lunch break. So at the same time that we're going to be fighting traffic to try and turn in to get to the school, people will be leaving Costco and there is no protected turn. I've also seen, cars parking along Silva Valley, walking their children into school along that busy road. It's not a safe place for you to walk a child on that curb. And it will continue to get worse as the traffic increases. And then the last note I wanted to make was that speed limit of 25 miles per hour in the school zone is ignored. I think I've seen maybe 3 cars ever drive 25 miles per hour. Most people go 45 to 60 miles per hour through there, even while school is getting out. So it's just very concerning to see that a commercial property is being placed right next to a school when we have existing issues that need to be addressed, and they're just going to be compounded if this proposal passes. So I just, urge the county to please listen to the concerns of the parents that have children at Oak Meadow. Their safety is at risk. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, just a reminder, if you are on Zoom and you want to speak, do hit that raise hands button. And if you are on the phone and you want to speak, you do need to hit *9 to raise your hand. Okay, caller with the last 4, 0765. *765, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, is this Gina?
This is the
Hi.
meeting.
I
This
am on
is
the
the meeting,
line.
excuse me.
I'm on the line though.
Yeah. Okay, great. As you know, this is Marty again. I was I guess the third maybe commenter, getting very barely into my comments, but in any case, I have submitted to you, as I'm sure you know by now, like a 5-page single-spaced set of comments. But I wanted to just focus tonight on the comments relative to the actual preparation of the EIR. And my first, actually, and my most urgent kind of notion is that this should be 2 EIRs. These are 2 separate projects. The only thing they have in common is one site owner, and they are distinct commercial projects. One is a Costco and one is a hodgepodge of possible commercial uses. They are on 2 separate sites. They have a whole set of different permit applications. And if you try to cram them both into one EIR, and as I'm saying, after 36 years of doing this, that is the hardest lesson I learned, is don't put 2 projects in one EIR. The problems of one become the problems of the other. And it drags the whole process out and makes it vastly more costly and more complicated for everyone involved. I was trying to get to the point of describing, we, as Corey mentioned, we need to address feasible alternatives. And CEQA requires that the EIR or EIRs address the no project alternative, which just would leave the sites as they are. So that has to be in the EIR, as you well know. It also requires that at least one other alternative be environmentally superior, but it also requires a reasonable range of alternatives. And so I would like to suggest that in this case, especially, it's reasonable to look at a pretty wide range, and I'll summarize those as briefly as I can. A partial project alternative that only develops one or the other of the sites as proposed. And how about a plan consistent alternative that doesn't require any general plan amendments, rezonings, conditional use permits, or exceptions to the county sign code or the tree code, and that just simply complies with all the existing applicable county policies and regulations that the county has spent great time and effort and money in developing for these sites. So look at an alternative that is simply complies with your plans. Also, look at off-site alternatives. Really, there are other places to put much if not all of this development that would be.
Thank you very much for your comment. Your 3 minutes are up. We do appreciate your concerns. For anyone else, if you wanted to indicate that you are ready to speak, we do want to make sure that everybody has a chance to speak. Please do the raise hand feature in Zoom. It's the button near the bottom. Or if you are on the phone, you do press *9 to raise your hand. All right. Next, we have Richard Langan. Richard, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you and good evening. Appreciate the time to comment this evening. I just want to say I'm a 33-year resident of El Dorado Hills. Back in 1987, when my family moved here, we did not move for really great shopping, and we still have not moved here for that reason. And I would agree that most of the other residents in El Dorado Hills feel the same way. I wanted to echo the concerns that some of the other callers had made relative to the impact of this project, specifically in the areas of traffic, additional car exhaust, and light pollution from the project itself. My concern would really fall into the fact that I would believe that there's people that are currently using the Costco in Folsom today that come from Rescue and points north, that instead of trying to go down through Bass Lake Road or Cameron Park Drive, and instead now come down to Silver Valley Parkway, adding additional traffic to that thoroughfare. And obviously with the school there and other houses there and many bicycle riders using that area, runners and so forth, it represents a potential danger to them. So it concerns me not only for those folks, but also leaves me kind of befuddled because I'm not quite sure why Costco feels that they need to have two warehouses within 2 miles of one another. I would imagine a lot of it has to do with the housing development in Folsom Ranch, a lot more customers potentially there, but that's in Sacramento County. So if they wish to serve that populace, then why don't they place that second Costco in Sacramento County as well, further down along Highway 50, rather than putting it into the El Dorado Hills area. So with that, I want to close my comments and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Richard. If there's anyone else who'd like to submit a comment, please do remember to raise your hand. In Zoom, you're looking for the hand feature, or on the phone, please press *9.
So if we have additional callers or Zoom participants, again, as Tracy said, just raise your hand or press *9. We have placed a time limit on verbal comments, and we'd like to adhere to that time limit just to be fair to all previous speakers. If you have additional comments, please don't hesitate to submit those to me in writing.
Great. So next we have Merdad Farouzesh.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Corey. I just want to, first of all, I'm a resident of Serrano as well. I moved here about 10 years ago, and it has been a very quiet and pleasant community to live in. We don't even have a street, residential street lighting in this community. So at night, there are no reflective lights. I believe this development is going to basically undo all of that environmental planning that was done to develop this community. The other thing that I want to point out is that Silva Valley is flanked by 2 hills on both sides. A car driving through Silva Valley could be heard all the way up the hills. So you could be half a mile away from Silva Valley, and you can still hear the traffic of a single car traveling through that street at night or anytime. Now, just imagine if we are going to have nighttime truck deliveries for stores, and I believe this was mentioned earlier as well. So environmentally, this roadway is really not suitable for traffic, both from everything else that was mentioned earlier, from the school perspective, from safety, from pollution, from traffic, and also from noise perspective. This noise truly carries all the way up the hills. In some cases, we have trucks coming down the Highway 50 down the hill, and these trucks use their engine brakes, and that almost sounds like a freight train coming down the hill, and you can hear it all the way up to Serrano Parkway. So this is really going to be an environmental disaster, particularly at nighttime. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Erin Avila.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. I just wanted to echo pretty much what all the Serrano and Oak Meadow parents have said previously. I am an Oak Meadow parent as well. Just recently moved to Serrano to find a peaceful town with beautiful trails and open spaces and a good place to raise my kids. And not knowing this, moving here and buying a home in Serrano and finding this out was pretty upsetting. I know development happens and it's inevitable, it's going to happen, but just the type of development is concerning to me for all the reasons, from children's safety, traffic problems, noise pollution, environmental reasons, but most importantly, the safety of the kids at Oak Meadow, and also preserving the space around the people who have purchased homes in Serrano for the reason of having the beauty surrounding us. I also am concerned about a possibility of a gas station next to an elementary school for many reasons that are obvious. But most importantly, when I sat in the meeting last time and listened to the developer of EDH52 and Costco, I felt as if our concerns didn't matter. There's a lot of, it felt like unempathetic responses to our concerns. Comparing the Costco here to one in San Francisco, where quite obviously the population and type of city and town equivalency is not even in the same range. So I just hope that all this is looked at and that the safety of the school and the children is put at the front foremost. We are moving in a way of electric cars, and so I just don't understand why there would even be talk of putting a gas station right next door to an elementary school. It just blows my mind. So yeah, I just echo everything the parents said. And just extremely concerned that this would go here when there's so much more open space in other parts of this town, even El Dorado Hills. If they want the money, the tax revenue, there's so much more space to put something like this rather than right next to an elementary school and right underneath a housing development that's just so peaceful. And that's why people have moved here. Thank you.
Thank you. For those who have not yet had the opportunity to speak and you do want to speak, please indicate by raising your hand using the Zoom function, or if you are called in on the phone, please press *9. If you would like to make a verbal comment, please do raise your hand. That's how we know to call on you. So either press the button at the bottom of your Zoom meeting, should be a hand that says raise hand, or if you're calling via phone, please press *9.
So Tracy, if you don't see anyone raising their hand at the moment, maybe we'll just wait for a minute. Maybe somebody's collecting their thoughts, and so we'll just wait for a minute. And if we don't see any additional commenters, then we'll wrap up the meeting. And everybody on the line can submit comments, like I said, in writing via email or to the address on the screen now. But we'll go ahead and we can wait for another minute. And like I said, maybe somebody's collecting their thoughts and do you want to rush them?
While people are collecting their thoughts, I'm just going to read out that email address in case you're having a hard time reading it on the screen. It is EDH52 Commercial Center at edcgov.us. So that is the best email address to submit written comments.
And again, for anybody that may have signed in late or called in late, that email address comes right to me. It's not a separate email account sitting somewhere. It comes right to my email box. So if we do not have any additional commenters, folks wanting to submit verbal comments, we'll go ahead and close out the scoping meeting. I'm talking slow to give people a chance. But so again, email address, US mail, FedEx. Comments should be received by 5 o'clock on Tuesday, September 21st. And then we'll provide all of those comments to Ascent, and we'll look at those in consideration as for preparation in the EIR. Great. So seeing none, it looks like.
It does look like we have a new commenter, Crystal Young. Crystal?
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for letting me talk. I moved to the United States 2.5 years ago, and I just moved to Serrano like 2 months ago. When I heard about this thing that there will be a Costco so close to my house, I was really shocked. And because I have the same reason as other people why we choose here to be our home. And now it seems like the atmosphere will be changed. And when I talk to my neighbors and the new friends that I met in the community, everybody is shocked and they don't like Costco. I never heard anyone said, oh, this is a good project. So I wondered, because I never had this experience before, I wondered how many comments that will cause the people who in charge can reconsider all these programs, and how does this will be counted? This is my confused about this, because I expressed my opinion. I'll write the letters, and also I talked to some people, but I still don't know, does this, will this be useful, or we're wasting our time, or it will work? And the people who lead this project will really listen to our comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. New commenters, remind you to go ahead and use the raise your hand feature in Zoom so that we know to call on you.
So since we have a little extra time, I'm just going to provide some insight onto the process that Crystal was asking about. Well, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, the main purpose of this evening is to receive comments from members of the public or agencies regarding the environmental impact report. But just the overall umbrella of the process that we'll be going through is we're here at the start. Actually, this is the beginning of the process. The applications have been submitted. The environmental consultant will start preparing the environmental impact report. And when the draft environmental impact report goes public, that'll be out for public comment and review again. So you'll be able to read that document, see how your comments were addressed from the environmental perspective. Then that document will move through the decision-making process. So it will go forward to the Planning Commission for consideration. The Planning Commission will make a recommendation of denial or approval to the board, and the project will go forward to the board. So there are many opportunities for public participation in the process and to provide public comment. So here, again, we're focused on the EIR. There are different steps in the process where you can speak directly to the project, to the decision makers. I hope that helps.
Next, we have Claudia Vidovic. Claudia. Please unmute yourself. Claudia has put her hand down. For anyone else who wanted to provide verbal comment, do use that raise hand feature in Zoom so we know to call on you. Or if you are on the phone, please press *9.
Are there any additional comments from folks on Zoom or on the phone? So if not, again, I'll mention that this Zoom recording will be up on the planning department's main website in a few days. You can review, you can look for information. Also, in the presentation, there's information about accessing project application materials through our online track it system. And then again, comments should be sent over to me should be received here, excuse me, by 5 o'clock on Tuesday, September 21st. So we'll go ahead and close out this evening's scoping meetings if there are no additional comments. And we want to thank everyone for participating. Again, we encourage you to submit those comments and follow the project through the process. Thanks, everyone.